Hello, welcome to Microfiche Microphone. I'm Micah, and on this channel, we look at microfiche from the past or old newspaper articles in the public domain. We look at them with our modern eyes, our modern perspective, and see what we can learn from them. On this microfiche time capsule, we are looking at the Ladies' Home Journal from July 1884. And this article is called Letters to Homely Girls. If you're not familiar with the word homely, it basically means ugly. It's kind of a polite way of saying ugly. So I wasn't sure where they're going with this. I haven't read this yet, but I feel like all of us can relate to the idea of being called homely, of being thought of as not so pretty. Even if you are a pretty person, I think that at some point you would have looked in the mirror and thought that you weren't. So I think that everyone can relate to this, basically all women in the world. I think that they're going in the direction of beauty advice on how to help you not be quite so ugly. Jeez, that sounds horrible. But I think that that's really weird. So I thought we'd take a look and see what direction they're going to go with this. Yeah, especially because the author is using the pseudonym Helper. By Helper. Thank you, I guess. Yeah, let's see what they have to say. The hair is a woman's crowning glory, and no one who is not absolutely bald should pin on a wave or front. So you mean like extensions in the front? Okay. Cleanliness is indispensable to nice hair. Grease and pomades gather dirt and soil, everything that comes against the head. Okay, did people really do that back then? That's kind of gross. Like they would add grease to their hair? I guess it makes it shiny, but other than that, it just looks dirty. 2 combs, fine and dressing comb, and a good bristle brush and a small stiff brush to wash the head with are really necessary. Now, I don't think we use all of these brushes today, but I did understand that in the 18th and 19th century, people very rarely took full body baths, and they basically just used sponge baths to keep their body clean, and they didn't really wash their hair. But they've discovered that if you comb your hair every day, then it's actually just as good as washing it, which is surprising to me. But so apparently they had a whole bunch of different kinds of brushes and combs in order to keep your hair very, very clean. So I don't think that this is necessarily a frivolous, strange thing that they're doing. I think they're literally cleaning their hair with these. So that's why they had so many back then, and we don't have as many today, because today we use water and shampoo and we wash our hair. And and back then they didn't in the same way. I'm not judging what they did. I'm not saying it's gross or anything. I actually don't think it is. I think it's just a different solution to the same problem. But it also depends on what kind of problems you have with your hair, whether or not it was effective. So, yeah. All right, moving on. A few drops of aqua ammonia put into soft water makes a good wash for the hair. Ammonia? I don't recommend this. This is my official, this is not me talking, okay. 2 waters should be used and a coarse towel rubbed over the hair until dry. Much brushing gives luster to the hair, but the washes which are sold to give a golden color are very injurious, after a time quite destroying the hair. Well, yeah, anything that they sold at that time as hair dye to lighten it, yeah, is probably hydrogen peroxide. But you're right, it does damage the hair over time. So, yeah, they're not wrong. An excellent preventative from turning gray is a tincture of lobelia made in this way to half a pint of alcohol, and put half a pint of water and 1 ounce of lobelia tincture. Wet the hair every night with this. To restore gray hair, use the following recipe. At first, 2 or 3 times a week, applying to the roots of the hair with a small brush. After the color is restored, use once a week. quarter of a pint of bay rum, quarter of a pint of Jamaica rum, 3 ounces of glycerin, half a drum of lax sulfur, half a dram of lax sulfur, half a dram of sugar of lead. 1 teaspoonful of salt and 1 pint of water. Oh gosh, do not use this. Do not use this. Besides the fact that you're mixing alcohol with glycerin, I am slightly disturbed by how easy it was to get a hold of glycerin back in the day. That's explosive. Don't do this. Okay. Do not do this, especially applying lead to your hair. I mean, you're just begging for lead poisoning. Oh gosh. To be shaken before using. Oh great, let's make it blow up. Many ladies have the untidy habit of coming to breakfast with the hair in crimps. If the hair is brushed well at night and the front hair dampened with some warm soap suds, cocoa oil soap is the best, as it keeps the hair soft and lustrous. Twist the hair in the pins tightly and take it down in the morning and pin it over in one of the invisible nets made of hair the exact color of yours, and which cost only a nickel in any city. Except in extreme warm weather, hair put up in this way will keep nice all day. When the hair is harsh, either cocoa oil or Vaseline dressing is excellent. You putting Vaseline in your hair? Ugh. Use very little once in 3 or 4 weeks. Hair should have the ends trimmed frequently. I agree with this one. Once a month at least. Just cut the tiniest bit off. When the hair is falling out, sage tea with alcohol in to keep it is excellent. 1 ounce of alcohol to 3 or 4 ounces of tea, with any perfume you like to scent it. I have known a marvelous growth of hair which resulted from the use of tea of wild ground ivy made strong, and mixed with bay rum or alcohol, though bay rum is the nicest. The hair grew 7 inches in 3 months. Geez, that's really fast. And I kind of doubt it, because I believe the average growth is half an inch a month. If that. Like 7 inches in 3 months is really fast. That's about 2 inches a month. A good form is one of those things about as difficult to find as a graceful walk. The mothers of young children have much to do with the future shape and gracefulness of motions as well as of manners. I feel like we're changing the subject here. Little children should be taught to sit erect and straight. Yeah, we're changing the subject. Okay, so let me go back to the hair thing. They had a lot of home remedies. I don't really recommend any of them myself. I don't know if they work or not. Maybe they did a little bit. I think the growth was exaggerated. I can't imagine growing 2 inches a month. It just doesn't seem possible. So I think that if something like that actually worked, we would definitely all know about it. So I think that that was an exaggeration. But that's okay. All right, moving on apparently to posture. Okay. The mothers of young children have much to do with the future shape and gracefulness of motions as well as of manners. Little children should be taught to sit erect and stand straight, not rubbing one foot over the other, to turn out the toes and keep the elbows in standing to assume an easy position. Put the heel of the right foot a little in advance of the middle of the left. Children's shoes should be bought 3 sizes in advance of their years. A child 2 years old should wear number 5. Never mind if they are too large, it will keep the child from turning in its toes and the feet grow while the shoes do not. What? No. Okay. The sizes, like what size they quote-unquote should wear, okay, sure. They have those today. They'll be like, oh yeah, 2-year-olds wear, XYZ. But, like, it's just a general guide. If your child has big feet, then they need bigger size. If your child has small feet, they need a smaller size. And that is the truth. If they're wearing shoes that are way too big, then their feet aren't going to develop properly either, because the soles aren't formed properly to fit their foot, since their foot is so much smaller than what it is cut as. No, you buy shoes that fit your child. That is my very strong opinion, because I have had that happen. I have very small feet, and I always have had. And my mother used to habitually buy shoes 1 to 2 sizes larger than I wore, with the idea that I would grow into them. And it took me a year to grow a size because I have very small feet. So I think like the idea was good, but like the execution was bad. It used to give me blisters all the time. I hated it. I hated it. And I think that any child who is wearing shoes that don't fit them properly will hate it. You're right, the shoes don't grow. That's why you buy new ones when you grow out of them. Like, that is my opinion. So, okay. Moving on. Underwaists of girls even 2 years old should have very small darts. What? Girls who have grown rapidly and are thin often contract ugly habits, growing stoop-shouldered and one-sided from always sitting sideways and standing on one foot. The arms are in the way, and the girl is so conscious of her awkwardness and angularity that she neither hears, sees, or thinks of anything but her own wretched self. Such a girl needs very much kindly patience shown to her. She needs to go through gymnastic exercises every day to make her muscles firm and develop flesh on her long bones. I don't understand the underwaists thing. I don't get it. I can't picture it, and but it sounds like they're trying to give shape to, like, an hourglass kind of a shape to your clothing. No, girls at 2 years old should not have hourglass shape to their clothing. I'm sorry, but no child who has not yet hit puberty will have any kind of hourglass shape. It's not ever going to happen. I find that kind of disgusting, actually. Saying that a tall, thin girl needs to do more exercises, I disagree in that I think that she doesn't need to do any more exercises than anyone else does. I think all children need to do exercises in order to be healthy, but I don't know that a tall, thin girl needs to do more than others to develop flesh on her long bones. A horizontal bar can be made at home. Fasten a piece of a broom handle 2 feet long to strong loops of cord tied round a beam in the woodshed, if you have nothing better. Have it fast, high enough to grasp easily, and let her swing on it 2 or 3 minutes at a time, a dozen times a day. Okay, so gentle exercise, well, that's not really gentle, but like regular exercises multiple times a day, but very short bursts. That's not a bad suggestion for children, because children have very short attention spans. They can't sit down and like do 40 minutes of exercise. That's just not going to be something that they would be open to. But getting them to do it a bunch of times a day, but only for a minute or two, like, yeah, I could see them doing that. Let her walk with a bit of lathe or a ruler across her back, held in place by her bent arms. Let her carry a book on her head to teach her to hold herself erect and develop her throat. Take care that her shoes are comfortable, not too wide, but a little long, and always keep the heels straight. Grown girls with underdeveloped bosoms should bath the breasts daily with tepid water. What? And rub briskly with a coarse towel. That sounds like painful. Ouch. Always sitting with the shoulders thrown back, not bent up, or not drawn up or bent over. Are you kidding me? No, absolutely not. So, adult girls or late teens who have reached their full height and full development, who are very flat-chested, they suggest that you rub them with cold water or tepid water, so I guess like room temperature water, and rub it with a coarse towel. What? That sounds super painful. Sitting with their shoulders thrown back and not drawn up or bent over will make your chest look bigger. However, was that really your goal here? Oh my gosh. There's nothing wrong with being flat-chested. Jeez. Sleep on a low, soft pillow and lie straight. I don't understand that at all. Oh, these girls and young women should be very grateful to anyone kind enough to point out their ungraceful ways. It depends on how they point it out. Was it kindly meant, or were they trying to be annoying? After all, the mirror is a good friend to the girl if she will study it with locked doors every day, seeing for herself what is amiss, and finding the remedy. This is a horrible advice. Oh my gosh. Like, if I stood in front of a mirror every day and was like, oh, what's wrong with my body? It's just a great way to make women self-conscious. Too often the awkward girl has a quick temper, and its natural acerbity is much sharpened by the knowledge of her defects, and she is apt to be worse than thankless to the friends who are trying to assist her. The mirror has no feelings to hurt, and if it is a good one, cannot be accused of making matters worse than they are. Yeah. The ugly girl, as they call them, the homely girl, looking in the mirror, being not happy with what she sees, yeah, she's going to be upset if people point it out. Because in the back of her mind, she's going to have the thought that maybe it doesn't bother people. Maybe nobody really notices. And then when people point it out and are like, oh, you could do this, and, sit with your shoulders back so you don't look so flat-chested, like, that's cruel. Like, that can be extremely mean. And no, like, of course she's going to be angry. Of course she's going to be angry. I would be angry. Anybody would be angry. Like, here, let me point out all of your faults. And I'm trying to help you get better. No, you're trying to make yourself feel superior by making me feel like crap. So, congratulations, you succeeded. I'm sorry. This is actually a series, and I am not going to read any of the others because I hate this. I hate this. Like, giving people beauty advice is one thing. Like, targeting women who think of themselves as ugly and have low self-esteem is horrible, and it's exploitation. And I don't appreciate any of this. Like, we started out good with some hair advice. Everybody has hair. I'm assuming, some suggestions on how to make it better. But in the end, you can wear hats and bonnets and, things like that. But now we're getting into body shaming. And although they didn't call it that then, I feel like we've come a long way from this, and I'm really glad we have. But just seeing the body shaming of back in the day just makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. I mean, this reminds me of Anne of Green Gables, which actually takes place a couple of decades after this. It's early 20th century, the 1901, 1912, something like that. Anyway, it was early 20th century. However, it's the same kind of a mentality of, this girl, they used to call Anne of Green Gables ugly all the time. People would call her homely. The skinny girl with the freckles and the red hair. And they pointed out all of those things as not being attractive. And saying that she wasn't attractive because she had red hair, because she had freckles, neither of which she can do anything about, because they didn't have reliable hair dye, although she did try at one point. And the only thing that she could potentially do anything about is being thin. However, she's naturally thin, and she didn't gain weight quickly because she's so naturally thin. So I don't think that was fair of anyone to suggest to her, for example, that she should eat more and gain a little bit of weight, and then she would be more attractive. But actually what they really thought was, if you got rid of your freckles and had a different hair color, then you would be pretty. Well, today we can do things about that. Makeup can cover your freckles. Hair dye, you can change your hair color. And diets are all over the place. You can gain or lose weight if you want to. But it's if you want to. It should come from within. It should be something that you want to do. And not because somebody told you that you were ugly and that the qualities you have are ugly. I think this is extremely toxic. So this is my example of toxic 19th century well-meant advice, but is absolutely something no one should listen to. So I feel really bad that things like this even existed back then. It just really, really frustrates me. And I feel like we have not gotten over this yet today. There's still a lot of well-meant advice that is actually very toxic in its own way. Things like, you have this little bulge on the side that you really should use shapewear to fix. Really? Should I? Or do you just want me to spend more money on your product so that you make more money? And now you're telling me I have a problem that you are trying to fix. No, that's toxic helpfulness. I'm sorry, this absolutely disgusts me, but I feel like we did learn something from this. We did learn that this toxic helpfulness is something that we should be on the lookout for, and it's not something that we should be following the advice of, but it is something that we can look at and accept as it is and move on. Anyway, that's my opinion on this. I think it's horrible, and I really hope that it didn't ruin too many girls' lives. As I said, this is a series and I am not going to be pursuing, but I am glad that we did take at least a look at it, and I hope that you learned something today as well. Maybe even changed your own attitude about something. That would be awesome. Leave a comment down below. See, what did you think of the advice placed? Do you feel like I do, that it was extremely toxic, or do you think that it was more well-meant and well-meaning? Either way, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video.